Ba-ba-da-bow, bow, banger management, fantasy hockey podcast. Woo!
Wow.
What? Oh my God, you got me.
I feel like it's been a while since we've done that.
Yeah.
Welcome in, everybody, to Banger Management, the fantasy hockey podcast with, once again, Kevin and Josh here to talk about Week 22 hot topics plus mailbag episode. Listen, we are in full throttle of Week 22 right now. It's a battle. Jakey, as you have noticed on YouTube, I'm putting my hands out, but the lack of a third co-host today, once again. We mentioned on the last podcast, he's been really busy with some work stuff, so he's had to take some time away, but hopefully he will be here on the next episode. But in the meantime, as always, you know who you got. You get the two best hosts of the Banger Management Trio here to give you all the nice knowledge on the hot topics. And listen, we got some... I'm excited to answer this first question that we have. We don't have too many questions today. The
Yeah.
Discord, I don't want to say the Discord
Look,
let us
I think
down,
that
but
I think people are too focused on like a lot of we got a lot of questions, but it's all like immediate answer stuff.
Yeah,
Not stuff that we could save until the mailbag. So this is going to be a little snack sized episodes for you guys. You're going to see probably. I mean, I don't want to predict how long it's going to end up. I feel like it'll be like 20 to 30 minutes. So let's see. You might see that in the Spotify or whatever and be like, oh, this is going to be a little quick one, but we'll make it fun for you guys.
I will say I've noticed a large than usual amount of like important start-sit questions and cut decisions now. And I think that's what the playoffs are all about, right? It's
time.
like, it's crunch time. It's, no more Mr. Nice Guy. This guy's not producing. He's a big name. You cut him, move on, get production, and win your fantasy league. So,
yeah.
That's what we're going to try to do today. We're going to have some spicy topics, but before we get into it, just a little reminder for everybody. If you made it this far into the season, we're approaching the finals of most championship leagues, and if you haven't already followed on Spotify, followed on Apple, we honestly sincerely appreciate all the support we've been getting. This has been a massive year for the Banger Management community, and we're really happy to be part of it and to be here and building a community and interacting with you guys has been so much fun. So if you can follow the podcast on anywhere you're listening to it, and a 5-star rating or a little review goes a long way. If you end up I think only Apple you can write reviews, but if you guys write a review, I will read them and I'll read it on the podcast. So if you have anything you want to share and say something nice about us, now's the time. But and if you're not already in the Discord community, click that link in the description or wherever it is and join so we can answer all of your important fantasy hockey playoff questions. And obviously, if you're on YouTube, just subscribe, like. I know you like what you see, so let us know with a nice thumbs up. But all right, Josh, let's get into the first question. Or first hot topic, actually.
Let's get into the hot topics first before we jump to the questions. All right, first hot topic. Seth Jones. He is the worst player of all time, but he still has a 4-game week this week, 4-game week next week. He's playing on Power Play 1. Is he a hold or a drop? Literally put up straight zeros the entirety of last week. I think he got 1 shot and 1 hit and 1 block over the course of 3 games. Mm-hmm. So is this the type of thing where, it was a bad week, he just came back from injury, the schedule and deployment is too good and you hold on? Or is this like, he's not doing anything for me, I need production right now, I'm dropping him? What do you think?
I mean, listen, as you guys are listening to this, there's probably 3 games left for Seth Jones, the Thursday and then the back-to-back on the Saturday, Sunday. With how he's been going and how, Florida looks right now, when, every day feels like a new guy's day-to-day are being held out, I have no remorse cutting Seth Jones at this point. I know it feels bad because if you have Seth Jones, you probably held him for so long, hoping for him to come back from the injury, but it took so long that Florida's just not in the running anymore. They're not a playoff team. They don't want to win games, right? Like we're seeing, Lundell miss games, Bennett missed a game, all their stars. Is Sam Reinhart going to come back? We have no idea. Probably not. Sad tear from my face as he sits on my IR. But Seth Jones, I do not feel bad about cutting him. You look at the schedule and you're like, oh my God, he's still got so many good games. The schedule is good. Like it feels bad cutting him for another guy that's going to be maybe has just as good of a schedule or slightly worse. But if the quality is just so much better, at some point you just got to make that call.
Yeah, it's crazy because he's been averaging like 25 minutes a night since coming back. And like, I don't know, like whenever like I see a guy average this much ice time and produce this many zeros, I'm like, is this guy playing like dodgeball out there? Like
Yeah.
trying to, like trying to not get touched by anything? Like how do you have such low impact on the course of a game when you're on the ice for so long? It's baffling to me. But yeah, no, I think he's an easy cut. My plan was to hold him for like one or two more games to see, if anything would happen, especially if Reinhart came back. I think that would be a huge boost to Jones. But it's really not looking likely. It's looking like they're just shutting everyone down. So no, I don't feel bad dropping him as long as the person you're picking up, expect them to do anything better than zeros. So that's kind of where I stand with that. Yeah.
I mean, my question to you is like, we've touched on Florida a few times in the recent episodes, just given like the landscape of, their fantasy impact. But is there anybody on this team that you actually want to own right now? And if you do, is anybody cuttable?
The crazy thing to me is the only person I want to own on Florida at this point is Bobrovsky. And that's nuts because he's been so bad and I was so anti-Bob for so long. But it's crazy that he just decided to be good once his team completely is out of it and they stopped trying and all that. So I would keep Bob at this point, or I would pick him up and stream him.
Like, would you rather Bob or like Hofer?
It's tough because logically Bob should be garbage. He's been bad all year and the team sucks, but now he's turning it up. But I like what Hofer's been doing a lot. So I think I don't know if you
St. Louis is not necessarily a team that is going to be in the running for the playoffs either anymore, right? But they still feel like they're trying to win games.
That's it. At least they haven't like fully thrown in the towel, and they're not like actively tanking. So no, I probably still go Hofer, but I think that one it's really just based on the matchups. Whoever has better matchups, I would go with. But yeah, in terms of Florida, like get him off your team. I don't think there's anyone I want at this point.
Like Sam Bennett, like you'd be willing to cut because he's been pretty good. Like you look at the game log and he's actually been productive. Like the hits are not there, which is kind of surprising for like a Bennett archetype player.
Yeah,
but he still got shots. The points are still there. Like he just put up straight zeros, but that happens to anybody. Ricard Raquel got straight zeros, and we still happy to have him because of the schedule.
Yeah, no Bennett, like I can see holding him, but like the second he gets that day-to-day tag, it just feels inevitable at this point. Like I would drop, or if he starts putting up like multiple games of straight zeros, I would drop. Like it's I don't have any attachment to any of these Florida players with what their team's doing.
The glaring name. What about Matthew Tkachuk?
That is a glaring name. I feel like I haven't heard his name like at all. No. Which is never a good sign when you have a guy of that caliber.
I mean, over the last month, he's at 1.25 points per game, 0.4 power play points, 3 shots. Then no face-off wins, hits, or blocks. But like nobody's talking about him because Florida's dog water, $sign poop. But
no, look, I mean, I didn't realize he was popping off that hard. Obviously, you're not dropping Kachuk, but I'm honestly surprised. I thought they had completely thrown in the towel.
I know.
I wouldn't be surprised if Zito comes at him with the crowbar later. But
they're like, all right, we need to hold you out.
Exactly. He's like, sorry, only guys who could put up straight zeros. That's why we're giving Seth Jones 30 minutes a night.
Yeah. Oh boy.
All right, let's go on to the next one. Next, we've got Cole Hutson. A lot of people have been asking, like, do I need to pick this guy up? Is he the pickup of the rest of the season? Do we think there's any chance he gets power play 1 over Chychrun this season? And another question is, we've been getting some like keeper style questions about Hutson. Is he worth grabbing to be like a last round keeper for next season? Like, do we think he can get power play 1 at any point next season? Just thinking ahead.
In keeper leagues, definitely, more interested than redraft leagues. But in redraft leagues, like leagues that end this year, you're making moves for your semifinals or your finals, I'm not taking the chance on Cole Hutson. I mean, I'm coming at this from a category league perspective. He just doesn't have the category coverage for me to be interested in him. And I just don't think that the power play 1 is it. Like, I think Chychrun's still a great player. Like Cole Hutson, like maybe he has a bright future ahead of him. But Chychrun is like, you don't just overtake that overnight because you have the name value, right? And your brother's really good. I think he has a lot of growing to do. I think next year will be exciting for him. Even next year, I don't see him necessarily having power play 1. Maybe they run 2 defensemen on the power play, like Washington has done that this year even. Feels like one of the only teams that actually considers that as an option. But to me, Chychrun is still the main guy. In keeper leagues, I'll be interested, but it has to be like a deep keeper league. I feel like more dynasty leagues is where he's at, because keeper leagues, you'll probably have even better options to keep. I'm not risking it this late into the season when I know that my pickups have to be valuable. I know he's got like 2 points in 3 games and he looks exciting and he's got a lot of hype, but a lot of zeros in those categories, and to me, that's just not it. Even in points leagues, I feel like it's too risky for me. I don't want to take the chance.
Yeah, I fully agree. Only thing I'll say is maybe next year, like the fact they shipped Carlson out, like opens an avenue. Like he is now the second most likely defenseman to get power play 1 on that team, and like it's not exactly the same, but it reminds me of when like Lane Hutson came in,
Hmm.
right? And Matheson was the power play one guy on the
Yeah.
Habs, and Hutson started on power play two for the first like half of that year. And I didn't think there was any way he was gonna get power play one because it seemed like Matheson had just had an unreal year the year before,
Yeah.
and then eventually Hutson just played his way onto it because he was just too good and too exciting of a prospect. So I don't know how Cole compares to Lane, but I think he's a very exciting prospect in his own right. And so I wouldn't say it's impossible. And honestly, like for that reason, I'm kind of worried. I don't know if I would draft Chikrin next year because I don't,
Hmm.
I mean, obviously it depends where you get him, but I think you can only get him in high rounds. Like
Hmm.
people are going to assume he's a guaranteed full season power play one defenseman. And I think there's a chance that Hutson gets it like halfway through the season or something like that. I don't think it's high, but I think there's a possibility.
I have two things to add. I will say though, like Washington, I feel like has two solid power play units because if you look at how the units are right now, like Hudson's got 2 points in 3 games. Both points have been power play points. So you're like, oh,
Yeah.
like gotta pay attention to this. But he's on power play two. Except power play two's got OV. He's always got OV, so that helps.
Yeah.
And then
Although maybe not next year.
maybe not next year, but I think he will. But I guess you never know.
Yeah.
But he's also got Strome and the best Connor Mick in the league. So
Yeah.
and our goat Stewart. So I feel like it's like a decent power play two unit. The fact that you have like a star player on both units helps. But next year maybe we're looking at this as the second thing I want to say was maybe it's gonna be like the Heiskanen Harley situation of this year. Like I feel like Heiskanen got pushed down a little bit because everybody thought Harley was he got paid, he might take over.
Yeah.
Heiskanen kind of was like is always trash for fantasy.
Yeah.
And then this year he ended up being great, and everybody that drafted Harley got
Shafted.
bumped out. Yeah, shafted. So maybe next year it's kind of like a similar thing. I guess we'll see. But
It for sure, yeah. Like that's it. You don't know exactly, and like the possibility usually brings down the player's value a bit. But then if they end up keeping it, then you got a huge steal. But if they don't, then it's a big L. So it's just something to keep an eye on for sure.
yeah,
All right, next we've got Vegas Golden Knights as a whole. They keep getting shut out. They got shut out. I think they hadn't scored a goal in like 190 minutes. They finally scored a goal in their third game of the week last week. And the top guys disappeared. Eichel,
yep.
Hurdle, Stone, Dorfeev. Like all these guys
Hmm.
are kind of like dropping. Like the only one who like got a couple points was Marner, but even he hasn't been like that crazy. So like, what do you do with these Vegas guys? It's just like are any of them droppable, or is it like you just have to hold and hope for the best?
This is so tough. Like I think to me, the after post Olympics, it feels like all these guys just kind of like pumped the brakes and coasting for the rest of the year. Which I don't know if that was the goal or if it's just. It feels like it can't be the goal, right? These guys are still like, you know, top level hockey players that are some of the most talented players on the planet. So they don't
Yeah,
just like even if they were maybe a little bit checked out, I feel like it doesn't get this bad, right?
yeah,
So I think it's just a bad run of form. It worked out in my favor because I played against Jack Eichel last week. So he had 4 games and it was super dangerous, but he ended up not being too much of a threat, which is surprising. I feel like it's been like that for multiple weeks. In terms of the players you listed, I think Hurdle is a cut. He's been like the least productive out of all of them. Like if you play in faceoff leagues, maybe he's like a sliver of a hold because of how valuable that the left wing faceoffs are, but he's a cut. Um, Dorofeev, I'm still keeping. There's only one player in the entire league that has more power play goals this season than Dorofeev. Do you know who that is?
Johnston.
Yeah, Wyatt
Yeah,
Johnston. So I feel like even through this slump, you can't cut a guy that's like so good at that specific thing because power play points are very valuable in category leagues. It touches all the categories for points. In even in points leagues, like you usually get bonuses for those. So I'm not
yeah.
cutting him. The one like I'm not cutting Eichel either. You can't. Like this is a guy that
No.
when he's playing at his level, he's playing a top 10 player in fantasy.
Yeah,
Marner
sure.
is a second round pick type of player. Stone
Yeah,
was also a second round pick type of player. Um, Marner has been, delivering a little bit more often. But I got a question like, do I drop Mark Stone for, Gabe Perreault this week to fit in my thing? And now I know we're later in the week at this point when this episode
yeah,
comes out. So that's not a question anymore, given, how many games are left.
yeah.
But that's the thing that
No,
you have to be
but
thinking about.
yeah, like the answer is definitely not.
Hmm.
But it's like worth a question because like we always talk about, what have you done for me lately? Well, you need production
Yeah.
this week and next week, and that's all that matters. At the end of the day, though, like there's certain guys who are just at such a high caliber normally
Hmm.
that even if they're slumping, like look, I mean, look at what Celebrini did last week,
Yeah.
right? It was a garbage week, cost me like my playoffs, cost a lot of people who owned him their playoffs, but like you're not gonna drop Celebrini for a Gabe Perreault, you know,
Yeah.
like it's a and like Stone has been points per game wise like just as good if not better
Mhm.
than like those top guys. So no, you just can't you just have to hold on and it sucks and you know you made your bed with your top players
Mhm.
and you have to lie in it with your top players, you
Mhm.
know, like
Yeah.
whatever that sounds like. But you know what I mean? Like there's just like there's some guys that you can't cut because the upside of them, you know, turning it around is just too high. That there's no one on waivers who's going to be comparable. Obviously, in the shallower your league
Mhm.
goes, the higher the line gets on
Yeah.
who's droppable. But there's some guys who I don't think in any league are droppable.
This is like such a hard question for me because I know in the Discord we get a lot of questions on like basically asking for permission to cut a player.
Yeah,
And that's a lot of responsibility for us to take on our shoulders because I know that like, me going one way or the other can really sway your matchup. And I feel
yeah,
like more often than not, we make the good call, but there's a lot of, misses in there too. And, we have to understand that it is a range of outcomes and you're trying to do the best that you can. But like somebody said, like, do I cut Mark Stone, this week in week 2022 for somebody? And I was like, I don't think you can cut Mark Stone. Like,
no,
they were lucky enough to have a bye week, so it gives them more information. But if he wasn't on a bye, we could have the same. I had the same like thought process. I was just like, this guy is like too good to just
yeah,
cut and stream like a Connor Brown or something. Like I feel like I just can't.
yeah,
I don't have it in me to pull that. But then let's say at the end of the week he loses a matchup and Stone got 1 point out of 3 games and a lot of straight zeros. I'm gonna feel awful. I'm gonna be like, dang, I feel like I costed this
yeah.
person their matchup, but I still
But it's still the
believe that it
right
was the
call.
process, right? So
Yeah,
maybe just a growing opportunity for me to be like, I can give the best advice that I can, but at the end of the day,
yeah,
like fantasy will do fantasy and you can't get everything right.
yeah,
I feel the burden and the guilt, but
yeah.
hopefully it doesn't work out because these guys are just elite players. Like you said, you made
Yeah,
your bed, you got to lie in it and you got to trust them. Like you're not cutting Celebrini because he had a few bad games.
yeah,
You're just unlucky.
exactly. This is funny. I got like a flashback of like I want to say this was like 3 seasons ago or something
Hmm.
like that. I think it was maybe my first season in the league where I had Mark Stone and then he got like injured for the whole season
Yeah.
and then I like dropped him
Yeah.
and then Jakey I ended up going up against Jakey in the
Hmm.
finals and he picked up Mark
Yeah.
Stone and I was like so pissed because I was like, oh my god, he like got Stone for free and
Yeah.
he's gonna use him against me and then Stone put up straight zeros the
Yeah.
entire week and I was like, it was a sleeper agent, you
Yep.
know, that I like
I
set
remember
for.
was making jokes about that for so long.
Yeah. So yeah, no, but you can't drop him. But all right, let's move on to the next one. A more positive one. We've got Troy Terry, the GOAT. He is back on line one power play one for Anaheim. He's been killing it. I don't know what his rostered percentage is at right now, but I know I've been seeing his
I'll
name a
check.
lot. And is he a must pick up if available?
Currently 46% owned. To
That's
me,
very available.
line one, power play one, Troy Terry was always a very solid player. Throughout the season, Josh has mentioned multiple times how he was trying to buy Troy Terry when he didn't have that deployment because he was so, confident in the fact that, like, if he gets that deployment back, he'll be very valuable for fantasy. It didn't
Yeah.
happen for a long time. It's happening right now. So, right now, I feel is the time to act. And, Anaheim has a great schedule for these next 2 weeks. To me, he's a must pick up. And to me, the
Yeah.
question becomes like, okay, no, is it in the same sphere as like Troy Terry or like Gabe Landeskog, line one, power play one on Colorado? How would you feel?
I mean, I expect Terry to get more points
Hmm.
and Landeskog to get more category coverage.
Hmm.
So it's what your team needs. But if you're looking for points, I'm going Terry.
Even in a categories league, I just feel like the upside that Troy Terry has, like he'll still shoot a lot, so you're really necessarily
Yeah.
missing out on like face-off wins and hits. And I think the points that he'll be able to get are going to make up for it. He's
Yeah.
almost a must pick up in my eyes. Like
Yeah.
as long as he has this line one, power play one deployment on this Anaheim team that is going to be a playoff team that they're still trying to win games, to me that's valuable. The thing is,
Yeah.
as soon as you see the deployment shift or he loses line one or he loses power play one, the opinion changes and we have to reevaluate
For
with
sure.
who he's playing with and all that. But blanket statement, line one, power play one, Troy Terry, I'm all in.
Yeah. It's so frustrating being like he just happened to be on a team of someone who is inactive and doesn't make
Yeah.
trades, you know? And like I had this hunch about him and I was
Mhm.
right
Mhm.
and I sent good offers for him and I just didn't get it because of that like just inactivity and I'm just like, man, that sucks, you know?
Yeah.
So hopefully next year, whatever league I'm in is more active and, you know, people are willing to give up their players who are playing terribly. So
I mean, Josh and I were talking about this off the podcast, but we were just planning for the Banger Management Community Leagues next year, and we already talked about in previous episodes how we think the structure is going to line up. But there's going to be a top league out there with like me, Josh, Jakey, and I think the rest of the league filled up with listeners that are listening to this podcast that are very active in fantasy. I think it's going to be like some of the most competitive leagues out there, competing with all of you guys listening and everything. Like, there's we were debating if people are going to trade with us or not because of thinking like, oh, we know something or whatnot. I think there's going to be so many trades happening. I think it's going to be one of the most competitive leagues out there. People just love to trade. So
I know. I feel like, I don't know. I feel like in our league, it's gotten to the point where no one wants to trade with me. And I feel like all anyone's heard about over the past year is all the trades I've made and stuff.
you've had
And so
4
I feel like
first-round picks on your team.
yeah, so I feel like no one's gonna want to trade with me, but you know what? We'll see what happens. If
Well,
people love trading as much as I do, and the thing is, you know what?
it's
I
the
will
most
say,
fun thing about fantasy after the draft.
100%, and I will say it might be dangerous for me actually because at the end of every season, like I have so many
True.
screenshots on my phone of like trade offers I sent, and I'll look back and like 70% of them would have been disasters for me, you know.
Mhm.
But like everyone in our league is so scared of trading
Yeah.
that they mostly get rejected.
They
So
save you
like.
from yourself.
Yeah, so it's gonna be a bit dangerous next year if like people just start accepting my offers. I just like tank my team.
Definitely in the range of outcomes.
Yeah. So it'll be interesting because for me, the second one of my guys gets hot, I try and sell high, you know. But
Yeah.
sometimes guys are just good, you know. So
Yep.
like, it's definitely possible. All right, let's go to the last one. Speaking of guys who are just good, we've got Alex Lyon of the Buffalo Sabres. He only has one start this week. Do you drop or do you hold for the 2 games that he's gonna get in the finals?
This is a tough question, right? Because it really puts to the test the quality versus the quantity. Because if
Yeah.
you hold for one start and it ends up being like an average start below average, you're gonna feel really bad of like how much
Yeah.
value you're getting from that one roster spot, right?
And he just had his worst game of the season
Yeah,
on yesterday.
yeah. I mean, listen, you can only have amazing games for so long. At some point, you're gonna have a blip on the radar. But
Yeah.
if it's me, I'm probably moving on from Alex Lyon this
Wow.
week because this is granted you have viable options that are actually like good quality. Like, would you rather have a Hofer or an Alex Lyon? I'm probably taking a Hofer. I think.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, look, for this week and next week, like it's gonna be this. Hover's gonna get you 2 games this week and 2 next week versus 1 and 2. I mean, Lion's gonna get you more wins. He probably wins all 3 of his remaining games.
we don't know that for
Like,
for certain.
I mean, you definitely don't know it for sure, but who's more likely? It's gonna be Lion's more
Yeah.
likely. Buffalo's pretty much the best team in the league right now, which is insane to say, but it's true. And other than his last game, Lion's been unreal. I mean, I think this is one of those tough questions where just at the end of the day, it fully depends on like team makeup and the categories that you're playing with and all that. You know, like if I was going into this week, I wasn't going to drop Lion. I was going to just bank on like reaching my minimum starts and hope that I can win the 2 quality categories in our league.
I mean,
That
that's
was
what
kinda
I did.
gonna be
That's
my
what I've been
strategy.
doing with that was my strategy. So we would have both done the same thing. Even
Yeah, exactly.
years later, it would have been just one goalie versus one goalie.
Yeah, exactly.
Um,
So
yeah.
yeah, so I think like it's very dependent on the other goalie slash
But like, what
goalies
if
you're
a
holding.
Vladar is there? Let's say a goal you're getting 3 starts from versus a 1 start from an Alex Lyon. First of all, 1 start, if you're in a points league, you're cutting absolutely, right? Because
Yeah,
quantity
sure.
really matters a lot. The percentages don't matter as much. Like, it's point soup at the end of the day.
Yeah.
One game of anything is not going to be enough to make up for like 3 or 4 games of something else. But in a categories league where the percentages really matter and saves and goals against and all that, to me, like, give me Vladar that's got 3 games. Or, Allmark was picked up in a lot of leagues for the schedule, and
Yeah.
he was available in some leagues. Like,
Yeah.
give me Allmark.
No, I agree. I agree.
There's definitely a line, and if you have this decision to make, you can ask it in the Discord. But one game of a goalie in the championship, or it's really tough. Like, you're putting a lot into one guy, and one
Yeah.
mistake, and it costs you your entire season. It's a lot to bet on that.
Absolutely. All right. Or I mean, also you can always just hold him for the 1 game and then drop him for the
Yeah.
second half of the week. That's another option.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into our questions for this week. So again, very few questions, so we'll just get into them and see what we got. So Jordari on Discord asked, "Do you guys think you could win in a zombie style version of your league?" So here's I'd never heard of this, but he said if you've never heard of
Yep.
it, one team doesn't draft, then they get to fill up their team off free agent pickups after the draft, and then if the zombie team wins their matchup, they get to steal any player from the other team. And the ultimate goal is to build a super team in the end.
Mhm.
That sounds super cool.
Yeah.
I already know how kind of like I would approach this. I think actually like
You got to do this in a category league. First of all, in a points league, this would be impossible.
oh yeah, no, in a points league it's impossible, but in our like category league like us, like I honestly think like it could be pretty nuts, like having this like zombie team,
You're just going
like
hard
if
for
it's
bangers and goalies
that's
and hoping
that's
for the
exactly
best.
it. So like that's how I would approach it. I would be just filling up my team with like, I would never lose hits, blocks, pims. Even though it's random, you can still just
Yeah.
get a bunch of those like bruiser guys, face off wins.
Hmm.
Um, and then like you said, the goal like saves. I
You
would
get
hold just
hold
extra.
3 or 4 goalies and
Exactly. So get the saves and the wins. Like that's 6 categories right
mhm.
there out of the 15. And then you just need to win 2 other ones. Like what other ones can you steal? Like I mean, and then like
You just gotta
probably like
steal. You just gotta steal it for 1 week, and then you get
yeah. Oh, shots
probably
on goal. Like
somebody's.
you can try and pull off. I mean, that's a hard one, but
Yeah,
you know, just like, and also like the nice thing about that is anytime anyone good pops up on free agency, you have so many guys you
yeah,
can drop, right? You're not attached to anyone. You can also just go for 4 game weeks like throughout the whole season.
yeah,
Like obviously you're at a huge disadvantage because you didn't get to draft any of the top like 200 players,
yeah,
but there's always gold on the waiver wire and the second someone else has a bad week, the second you go up against a team that has injuries and you get to steal their best player,
yeah.
like you're just cruising and it just like kind of compounds right
Hmm.
as you go. So I think that'd be super fun, super interesting. And I think we could, with a good strategy, you could pull it off and a
I,
bit of luck.
I would love to run a banger management vampire zombie league. This is kind
Yeah.
of both,
It's
but
just like, how do you choose who gets to be the zombie, you know?
true. Maybe it's just random and it gets decided or somebody volunteers. But if you're interested in a league like this, like let us know in the Discord or in the YouTube comments or whatever. If we have enough people that are interested, maybe we run one of these leagues as a test and just for fun and see how it goes.
Yeah. How
Um,
do you even do that? I guess you would just manually like force the person to give the player away, or how do you even have someone
it
non-draft? I
when you,
don't know.
no when you do the draft, I think either you just like select guys that you know are like
Oh,
super
no one's gonna
low that
take.
no one's gonna
Yeah.
take, and then the draft happens and all that.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Anyways, very cool idea. I like
Yeah.
it. All right. Lucio Mancuso 39 on Discord asked, for weeks 22 and 23, would you rather Hronik, who has a 3-4, Jones, who has a 4-4, or Sergachev, who has a 3-2? So for that one, I mean, we just talked about Jones, how he sucks, but I will say I'd probably still take it. I mean, I'm still taking him over Hronik just
Yeah.
for the upside, and I think the game's difference is enough for me to take him over Sergachev. So like, I don't know if you're with me on that one because
Hmm.
Sergachev obviously is like decent, but I think with these two as your other options, I'd probably just hold Jones and hope that he can not put up straight zeros.
If Sergachev had like at least one of his games in the first half of the week, I might have just gone with Sergachev because I like the 3 games week in week 22, and then just hold
Yeah,
him for the first game and then cut him and stream somebody else. But his 2 games
yeah,
in week 23 are like later in the week. It's like Thursday, Saturday, so I'd be
yeah,
missing out on like Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday games. I
yeah,
I think you got to go Jones here. Just the 4-4 is still good as long as he's healthy and playing, obviously.
yeah,
Hronik, like he has some weeks and games where he's like really good, but then it's still Vancouver, one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst team in the league. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this is like
He
a question
also
that I
asked.
feel icky saying yes to, but
Yeah, I know. Like I hate Jones. He sucks, but I just think with the schedule and those other options, I would still take him. He also asked in week 23, would you rather Will Cooley or Dylan Genther? Cooley's got 4 games, Genther's got 2.
I mean, if it's a points league, I'm still going Gunther. But you
Yeah.
probably have better options, maybe potentially on waivers. In a bangers category league, you're still going Cooley. I think that's just you might not get the points for you, but like the shots, hits, and even some blocks combo is just too valuable on a 4 game week. Like that's a guy that can really like sway those categories heavily, like especially the hits.
Yeah, absolutely, fully agree. All right. Gnome on Discord asked, can each host pick one team from the West and one from the East who they believe will win the cup? I say you do this snake draft style. So you would pick someone from the West, then I pick someone from the West, then I pick someone from the East, and then you pick someone from the East. So we can't choose the same team, I guess. So yeah, let's do it. All right, you want to start?
You want to do it right now?
Yeah, why not? It's a lot
Okay.
easier without Jiggy. Just not as much
Without-
restriction, not as much restriction on who we can pick. But
Thank
yeah,
God.
if you want the
Um,
first round pick, you can have it.
oh, that's smart because 2-3 is pretty valuable. Um, so is it just one from the West,
So
one from
one
the
from
East? That's it?
yeah, exactly.
I mean, you got to go Avalanche, right? That's
Okay,
my
so
top
that
pick.
leaves me. So for the West, then, if not for the Avs. I mean, it's not going to be anyone in the garbage Pacific. I could tell you that much. The whole division is a disaster. I guess I'm going with Dallas. I mean, it's some boring picks, but I feel like the West. I feel like the East is more interesting than the West, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
With
Not
like
Dallas
how,
over Minnesota?
yeah, I'm going Dallas over Minnesota. I think, yeah, I feel pretty confident in that. But I mean, it's going to be a very close series. I could see it going to 7.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I'm going Dallas, and then for the East, I'm obviously going with the Habs, baby.
Classic Josh. If you guys don't know him, every bracket that Josh makes for the playoffs is always Habs winning the cup. Like, he's gonna be right at some point, and that year is gonna be amazing. But every year until then, we just kind of forget it happened.
Look, I'm not gonna be the guy who doesn't put the Habs winning the cup in his bracket the year that they win the cup.
Yeah.
I refuse. So
You'd rather be the guy that
Habs
puts them
until they
every
win.
year until it happens.
Exactly.
Okay, so you're actually going with the Habs?
I'm going with the Habs. Cole Caulfield's going to score 50 in the playoffs.
Okay, first of all, Caulfield, insane.
Yeah, crazy.
I played against him in the quarterfinals, so thank God my opponent also had Sorokin, so all those goals and points that he was scoring was on his goalie. But it would have been devastating if that actually like swayed my matchup.
Yeah.
But because I was rooting for him, I was like, let's go. Caulfield scores again, and then I look at my fantasy matchup. I'm like, oh God. But from the East, I got to go Tampa. I feel like I got Avalanche and Tampa. It feels like this is not even fun, but you got to go with the best teams. Like I feel like Tampa's a team built for the playoffs, so we'll see if they got Anthony Cirelli averaging 4 points a game. Like who's gonna stop him?
It's true. It really feels like Tampa can't be stopped. If I wasn't gonna say Habs, I was actually gonna say Buffalo. But I mean,
Buffalo's
honestly,
fun.
like
But playoffs,
yeah, that's it. I mean, like, look, I am so bad at predicting playoffs. My brackets are always a disaster, and I don't know what happens, but like, I just find playoffs so hard to predict.
Mhm.
So I kind of just go off vibes as opposed to who I actually think is gonna win it. Because every time I just put the favorites, it's just boring, and then half the time it's wrong anyway. So
Yeah.
I guess I'll go off the good vibes. All right, and okay. Lastly, who do you think? Let's each pick one for Jakey.
Jakey would have
I'll give
totally
Buffalo to
picked.
Jakey. I feel like he could say that.
I feel like Jakey would have went like Carolina.
I was thinking that too because of Seth Jarvis.
Jakey's definitely going Anaheim though from the West.
Oh yeah, huge Anaheim guy.
Classic Jakey.
Yeah.
There you
Love
go. I
that.
hope you're happy, Jakey.
Yeah.
Wherever
All right,
you
and
are.
lastly, here in spirit.
Yeah.
Birdo's Pink Sucker on Discord asked, how do you find the balance between quantity versus quality when deciding who to stream? For example, better guy plays 2 games, but a lesser player plays 3. So, I mean, one of the kind of easier ways to be objective about it is just think about how their averages and then just multiply it by the games played and see what you end up with. So a guy's going to average you 0.7 points per game on 4-game week, or a guy's going to average you a point per game on a 2-game week. That's 2.8 versus 2. So you take the 0.7 guy, but that's kind of just the clearest way to look at it. Obviously, it's not just about points. There's a lot of different categories to look at. I mean, you could just multiply all of it and look at it that way. Or you can look at it the way, if it's close enough, then obviously you're anything can happen on any given game. So just give me the volume. Also, depending on the categories you're targeting, if it's more like shots, hits, blocks, you just go with the volume because, that's the type of thing that just volume is king. Whereas points, you might just go with the 2-game guy. But yeah, I don't know what you think, Kevin.
I mean, very similar for me. Obviously, you want to do the math and the logistics of it and be like, okay, this guy averages this amount, he's playing this many games. Like, what is the stats say? That you're basically doing probabilities. Like, this guy is 80% chance of getting a point. This guy's got a 60% chance of giving it a point over 2 games. Like, who's going to get the point or 2 points or whatever. So you want to at least know what the answer is there when you're factoring that into your decision making. You also got to look at schedule and matchups, right? Like, is this 2 games versus, the Blues just had 2 games in the quarterfinals. They played Calgary and Vancouver, right? So, the 2 worst teams in the league. Would I have rather, a Holloway over a guy that plays 3 games, but, maybe it was tougher matchups? Probably, right? At the end of the day.
Yeah.
So that comes into play too. Obviously, the type of player and how good they are, that's always comes into play. So you're balancing out all these factors. And also, I don't know, this is just a mental thing for me, but to me, if it's okay, 2 games versus 3 games, I feel like I'm more likely to, and I'm assuming the 2-game player is a better player. I feel like
Yeah.
I'm more likely to go with the better player there. But if it was 3 games versus 4 games, I feel like, oh, I'm like, okay, like the volume like really weighs heavier. Even though it's just one extra game
Yeah.
different both ways, mentally,
Yeah.
I feel like there's got to be some statistical analysis that kind of like shows that maybe the 4 games is like even better. But
Yeah.
does that make any
I
sense?
mean, I feel like I mean, first of all, I agree, and I feel like it's just like the idea that like anything can happen any given game,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it's just
You
like
just want
4
more
games
shots of
just
the
feels
gun.
like yeah, exactly. 4 games just feels like so much in a week. Like, you're like something good. Like my
Yeah.
guy's got to do something good in 4
Yeah.
games. So like even though it's the same difference in games, like just getting to a certain amount of
Mm-hmm.
quantity, kind of gets you to that point. But yeah, that kind of wraps up our questions for today. Like we said, it was mostly most of the questions have been rapid fire ones
Mm-hmm.
in the Discord that we didn't want people to wait on. So these are the only ones we felt we could toss in here. But hopefully we'll have more for you next week.
I mean, next week is going to be, the championship for a lot of leagues. It might end up being me versus Jakey in the League of Record championship. It might end up being neither of us against each other in the championship. Two, it feels like equally as likely scenarios, but we'll see how that goes. If you made it this far, we really appreciate it. Thanks for rocking with us. It's been a huge year. And listen, we're at the very end. Obviously, there's still going to be off-season content to look forward to, but it's going to be different than when we're in the weeds of playing, fantasy playoffs and all that. So we really appreciate your time. And if you made it this far, please just follow the podcast anywhere you're listening to it. Spotify, Apple, wherever else. Follow, rate 5 stars. The 5 stars really makes a big difference, guys. I know maybe we say it every week, but if you're listening and you haven't done it yet, like it takes 2 seconds and it really makes a world of difference for us to grow the community. And if you're on YouTube, subscribe, like, comment, all that good stuff, and join the Discord. And that was a little spiel, I guess. Now I don't know what to say, so maybe you just take it away, Ernie.
Ba-ba-da-bow-bow, Banger Management Fantasy Hockey Podcast. Woo!
Woo! Woo!